up in some of these documentaries, but you don't have the like a video aspect.
We spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of time together, um, and it could have naturally been like that. Like I said, I met Kurt when I was around like what 4 years old, going to Cordello or whatever like that. I became friends with AJ when I was like 5 or something like
Right.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
he was 5 and I was 7, and we lived around the
Right.
corner
So
from
by
each
the
other.
time, by the
Nice.
time, by the time we started making music, our norm was always to be together. We ate as a crew, we partied as a crew, we hung out as a crew, we rode around different boroughs as a crew. You know, the thing about it is that we would always be sitting down working on something. Um, it was important to us that we always stayed abreast of what was going on. Like I said, Long Island, the competition was definitely against stiffening up. You know, so it was always important that we sat down and we always had something to try to go to the next level. Um, you know, there was times, unfortunately, like I said, that, you know, we had to leave a label and go to another label. And, you know, we would have to make sure that while we were ready to go to that label, you know what I'm saying, we had something hot to present or, you know, but like I said, man, it wasn't easy at all. But, you know, we spent a lot of time together. So I don't think that wanting to do videos and things like that was as relevant back then to us as having a hot record or having
Wanted a hot record, being on the radio,
yeah.
getting that respect from our peers, having a song that resonated with everybody. You know what's crazy about switching labels? So I saw an interview with Dre and rest in peace, Dr. Dre and Ed Lover, and they talked about when they first did Yo MTV Raps, they basically gave them cameras and said do a show.
Right. Yeah.
And then once it got known, then all these other people started getting on. When we first started, on B-Boy, it was like go do a record. By the time we had got to Idlers wanted to have more input in our records, was something we wasn't used to. And then when we got to Big B, like the A&R wanted to critique, it was just like it was more say they wanted to pick a producer for us and stuff. And we had never had that. We were always like self-contained. And it was like as our name got bigger, everybody wanted to be a part of it and do something. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of crazy. That was
You know,
one of the transition points that was kind of rough. Like,
you
Right.
know, with us moving from B-Boy over to Idlers, the situation for us was supposed to be lucrative doing that. What ended up happening was Idlers came up on a big house record by the Jungle Brothers, Girl Our
girl,
House
our
You.
house shit.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
immediately at that point in time, it went from being a Brooklyn hip hop label to a label that was chasing another house hit. Now, Intro to Dance, which is like the first song on the Forcefield album, we had already had that recorded.
That
So
was
that
that
was
was for the
already,
shows.
yeah,
That
that
wasn't even
was
supposed to be a
already
record.
to be, the first single or whatever it was. We used it at a couple of shows to introduce ourselves. But
Shadows, you see torsos at your back door. A group of three, not four. Could it be? To hold your head down, it's not E.T. It's the A-Y-E and the B-double-E. C-A-Z, cut the beat up for me.
the thing about it is that being on the second label, we made a lot of the music that we wanted to make.
And they
But
had us making house music, but they had us
but the
making hip hop
influence,
music.
yeah, the influence of the label was to, oh yeah, we need another group that's gonna have a nice hit like "Girl Our House Shit." And
Right. Yeah.
again, it wasn't particularly like our style of what we wanted to do. We were always down to experiment because, of course, anybody from Long Island knew how the great Stony Brook parties rock.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
right, so listening to house music and growing up on house music, it wasn't too terrible to try to make a couple of house joints, but
But that
it
wasn't
was
our core. That wasn't our. That
like
wasn't.
they
That
said.
wasn't what. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That wasn't who you guys were. Like.
Like they had us take. They had us take a record that we did, a hip hop record, and change it to a hip house record. Change the title, change the beat, same rhymes, and make it a hip house record. Which we did, and we experimented. I mean, I listened to house music a little bit, probably less than B and Kurt and them, but it wasn't my forte. I was into, growing up in Mount Vernon and on the borderline of the Bronx. Like, just it was just that wasn't. I love Girl House. I love that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for me, I wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Yeah. You
it
guys.
was like it was awkward for me, particularly. I mean, like I said, we experimented with a lot of things and we did it, but it just wasn't. I didn't feel as comfortable as like some of the more hip hop sounding records that we did with beats and loops and scratches and
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. You guys are more hip hop and not so much like house style. Yeah.
right.
So
But I
they're
mean,
kind of.
we had R&B loops too, though. So we had the R&B loops and stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still had the hip hop sound to it.
Right. And you guys
Yeah,
had such a great chemistry. You guys bounce off each other. The rhymes was just like effortless. It was just the way you guys flowed was just,
that's
smooth.
crazy. That's crazy because so I my parents got a house in Central Islip when I was 7. My parents get divorced when I'm 11 or 12. I'm a rebel without a pause or cause. My mother sends me back to Mount Vernon to my dad's house. So after high school, I ended up coming back to Long Island, and everybody on the block, Mike Walls, Rodney Norman, all of my fellas that, my next door neighbor, they telling me about B-Luv and Kurt doing their things when I was gone, and that they were starting to make a name for themselves. So they had a house party that they were doing that I was, I really didn't feel I just got back to Central Islip for the weekend. And so I wasn't trying to be going out really. They was like, nah, you coming out, coming out. Mike insisted I come out. So they dragged me to the party. And then it was like, yo, let A get on the mic. So I get on the mic and I say whatever I say. But it's B's set. So B's like, he's not gonna let nobody get a lot of love and he don't get love. So he's going back. So we're not battling, but we're going rhymes back and forth, rhymes back and forth. The end of the night, they say we sound good together. And then we meet up in Kurt's garage like a day or two later. They already had JVC. I become a new member. Now we're working on routines and talking about demos and stuff like that. Like, so, and that's literally like how it happened. Like,
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
credit to Mike Walls for dragging me to the party that I wasn't really trying to go to. It was in Brentwood too. It was on the Brentwood side of Islip Avenue. It was on one of the Brentwood streets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
Because
were doing the party for some girl. Yeah, some girl's
No,
birthday party.
no, that party was in CI. That party was at
Oh, it
Billy
was a
D's.
CI?
It was at
Who?
Billy D's house over on
Oh,
Lee,
okay.
on the other side of Lee.
Okay, yeah, it was down that way. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
On
We stopped. I think we stopped in Brentwood before we dipped in Brentwood, then came back. I think that's what it was. But
yeah, it
I
was
know
right
Brentwood
across the
was-
street. Yeah, right.
Right.
Islip Avenue, you
And I
CI.
lived on Branch. I lived the block past. I lived just a block or two from Islip Avenue, where
Oh
they had
yeah,
the bar to Taste the Honey. I lived on that corner that led up to that. So
nice.
I saw my yard. I go to my house. I come out my house. I see Islip Avenue right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see across the street. That's Brentwood right there. So yeah.
Yeah, right on there. We're right next door, man. We all shared like was Charlie's hot dog truck. I don't know if you remember that hot dog truck.
Actually, I do remember that name.
Yeah, right. So I think it was Spur Drive, and
Yeah, I actually do remember that. Wow.
there you go. So now,
What would you do if you hear the rhyme and you like it too? You bite it, write it, and recite it, take it home and review it. Because you feel it subsequently legit, that ain't it. Because the issue at hand is that you do big rhymes belonging to the Force MCs and the key to your successes with routines like these. Boy, you keep on fronting when it come battle time. We will excel, take you through hell, beat you so bad they call it a crime.
you guys are still, kind of, the song's relevant, still popping. You got, you're AJ, you're writing books, and you got all these things happening. Do you guys have you done any reunion shows? Are you thinking about doing reunion shows and get on any of these tours? You see a lot of these kind of reunion tours popping around all over.
So the easy answer to that is we get asked to do. Like people mention, oh, I want y'all to perform, but then there's nothing behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not.
Right,
there
right.
have been no serious offers. Like there's just been like people have talked about it. If there's a serious offer, I can't speak for B. I think we would get together and do a little something. You know what I'm saying? And he's in Georgia and I'm in New York, so they got to they got to bring him up here or bring me down there or something. But
Right.
yeah. But we haven't had serious requests. Just talk. You know what I'm saying? So,
I would love to do like somehow produce a show that's the Strong Island show, right? And it's obviously JVC Force, but then you have all these Long Island legends on the bill as well. I think that would be awesome, man. If you can get, I think De La, still out there touring, and they just put out some new stuff. And then you got, Parrish could do something, maybe EBMD. Maybe you could bring some of these guys back, and then it's all JVC Force Strong Island presents.
Yeah. I think
If he was able to pull that together, we down. But good luck putting that together, though.
That's my dream. I'm going to see if I can make that happen. You'll be my first call if I start that starts to pop.
Go ahead, B. B was saying something.
I think as the future comes about, you'll probably see some of these things that you're wanting to happen. I will tell you, we do live again. I live in Atlanta. A lives up there in Mount Vernon. But we do try to keep like our songs and our routines and stuff intact. So, there's
we still be doing our routines, and we still be having our little practice session. Sometimes it got to be over Zoom as opposed to like me walking around the corner of his house or him walking around the corner to my basement. You know what I'm saying? It's
If we are together, where there's times that, we've been together both in New York and Atlanta, we will go ahead and do something. We notice it would generate a lot of hits real fast, like thousands of hits real fast.
Yeah.
So, we try to stay in condition, but I think mostly throughout the years, I think one thing that we've recognized is there's different ways that you have to try to preserve a legacy. And sometimes to preserve it, unfortunately, you have to stay away. Staying away.
Sometimes you got to say no. Yeah.
Right.
No, but stay. We've been fortunate to not really sometimes be recognized in certain mixes because we realize, like, sometimes when folks talk to us about the possibilities of things, we have worth still.
Right.
We haven't been seen. So, the day that we will come back and be seen, somebody is probably going to put it together for a pretty nice sum.
Right.
So the bottom line is, we ready. If there's a promoter out there that's supposed to make a serious offer, holla, we ready. We stay, we still be, going over it, you know what I'm saying? We still know the songs. We still got a little show that we know